Victor Wembanyama's teammate, Bilal Coulibaly. How do we actually say that name? Because I've heard it a couple of different ways.
I believe it's Coulibaly, but if I'm wrong, I'm going to apologize to everyone. But that's where I'm going with. That's what I've heard the most.
Bilal Coulibaly, who played probably let's roughly say half the season in the junior team for Metropolitans, moved up to the big team towards the end of the year. And it's not often that, and I know that this team was a little bit different, obviously, with the development of Victor, but 18-year-olds playing sizable roles down the end of the stretch, playing alongside Victor. It's not a usual thing that happens in a lot of European leagues, but he forced his way up after putting up absurd numbers in the junior team to putting up pretty solid numbers playing in the big team. He averaged, you can see the shooting numbers are insane. I think some of those stats are mixed between the two different areas, but he is 18 years of age, so hyper young. He's going to be 19 towards the start of the season. He's like, and I said this on my mock draft yesterday, every player we talk about is like, oh yeah, this guy's a 6'6 to 6'9 wing who's 19 years of age. Like there's 20 of these guys that are going to go in the first round, and that's what makes, I think, this draft really strong, is in previous years go, yeah, look at these players, they're really good, but here's a 3 7-foot centers who can't shoot, and they're in the top 12 players. In this year, it's like, now everyone's 6'6 to 6'9, and they're athletic, and they can pass and defend, and they can shoot a little bit. And that's sort of what Bilal can do. Very athletic, wide range of outcomes. In all the mock drafts that I've tracked so far, I haven't updated since yesterday, but a range of between 14 to 30. So he's gaining steam at the moment. Just for a anecdote that doesn't really mean anything, but when I was playing my NBA 2K franchise and loaded up this draft class about 3 months ago, I picked Coulibaly as the 60th pick in that draft. So whoever made that draft class didn't rate him very highly as well. And now we're talking about, hey, he could go in the lottery. So why are you pumping the brakes on what Bilal can do?
I still like him a lot. It's just one of those. There's a lot of momentum and a lot of buzz around draft fans right now about him potentially ending up in the lottery. And I get the idea. I get the intrigue. I still have him in my first round. I just think this is more of a raw player than some might realize. And when you look at the numbers, they look really impressive. But most of those impressive numbers were coming at lower level competition, which he looked dominant. He looked like a guy that shouldn't be playing at that competition. And then Victor's senior club team gets some injuries and Coulibaly gets called up and he starts playing really well on defense and they keep him around. He showed some flashes, but I think there's a longer developmental path than some might, realize. Now that could still intrigue teams picking in the lottery for a bit of a project with some really special upside because he has that tools. But for now, right now, I'm more in that, early 20s range. I think if you could get him there, you'd be excited. But with how much buzz he has going on right now, I think there's going to be teams in the late lottery and in the teens thinking that if they want Coulibaly, they might have to jump and get him because a lot of tools listed around 6'6 to 6'8. We've even heard rumored and really lengthy, but he glides around the court. He's super athletic. The shot needs to come along, but the defensive tools are really, really special. I think he's got all the tools. It's just, can some team have that patience to allow them to come together? And that's where, if you're trying to pick him too early, some of those teams might not have that patience to let someone take a couple of years to find their groove. And he's still very, very young, but a really special prospect. I'm just not there with him as a lottery guy right now.
If you look at his junior numbers playing for the Espoir squad, they look like, and this is where we're going to have a lot of confusion in this draft, is they look like the numbers that the Thompsons were putting up at Overtime Elite, like 2.6 steals per game, 1.2 blocks as a 6'6 wing. Like these are crazy, like 6 rebounds. Like these are insane athletic numbers where he was too good for that competition. So, that level of play is obviously not as high as college basketball or European basketball, but there's something there. Like he's playing against other juniors, which the Overtime Elite boys are, and a lot of the college players are, obviously not as quite high of a level. But the other interesting thing is he shot 45% from 3 when he moved up to the big team. Yes, on 2 attempts per 36 minutes, but those shots went in, and he showed a little bit of that level of athleticism. But like, how do you grade that junior level playing there? Like, is it ridiculous for me to say, well, the talent level at Overtime Elite is maybe not that great? Like, how does that compare? Because he's doing Thompson-ish sort of stuff defensively there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's probably a good, case study if you're wanting to compare even the Thompson twins with where they've been playing, because they've been playing with much younger prospects. And Coulibaly's in the same boat. You watch him in the lower level competition, it's a completely different player because he's just surging with confidence. He's doing everything he wants on the court. I mean, he's attacking the lane with relative ease. He's finishing with emphatic slams, and he just looks like he's got some swagger. And then obviously when he's going up to play against tougher competition, it levels out, and you could still, that's where the age really comes out. But he's impressed even with not putting up big numbers there, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I've gone back to watch, Victor play against the G League Ignite, and Coulibaly got some minutes, and you're like, okay, he's holding his own defensively. He's really impressing. So it's just one of those things you kind of have to evaluate, like, okay, well, this is a lower level of competition, but look at what he can do. Look how special it is when everything's, flowing and the confidence is at an all-time high. And you just have to try to figure out, okay, how long is it going to be until maybe both of those worlds, when it comes to the confidence, mesh together? And I think if an NBA team gets them into their organization, has a good developmental plan in, progress for him, maybe get some time in the G League just to get some reps. But there's a lot of really good basketball for Bilal Coulibaly to be unlocked. And it's just who's going to go all in and try to find the, gold with him, because he is a diamond in the rough.
In terms of what happens with him next season, is there any chance that he stays in Europe, and with obviously no Victor on that team, that we see him in a larger role for Metropolitans, or do you think he's coming across no matter what?
I think it's interesting because in the past, it always seemed you'd want to put them overseas and kind of keep them to almost maybe try to pick where they would go play and get them some good experience. Now with the popularity of the G League, now they're about to expand, and every single organization is going to have a G League franchise. I think it's almost you want to bring him over and then have him around your developmental staff, maybe get him reps in the G League, because the G League competition has been fantastic. It used to early on be kind of almost like a demotion in some people's eyes with fans. And now it's like, no, it's just an outstanding developmental resource for these organizations. So I think there's a higher chance that you'd want to bring him over, kind of work and have your hands on with him. And even if he's not playing a lot of minutes as a rookie, you're still having him around the team in practice, and just any way you can get some confidence into him, because I doubt his rookie year he's going to be a guy that plays extended minutes, because I just think there's too much of a learning curve and there's a lot of rawness. But he has the tools to be something really, really special moving forward.